If you want to succeed in college, you need to be prepared for what's coming next. So I've packed this video with 5 of the most important things to understand about the college experience. A lot of high school students get used to a certain style of education where the teachers try to notice who needs extra support in the classroom or recognize when students are confused about something, and these teachers try to help those students. So as a student, you can get away with just sitting and waiting for the teacher to recognize that you need some help. In college, teachers don't do that. In general, if you need help, you need to recognize yourself that you need help, and then you need to speak up. It's very common in college for teachers to hold office hours to help students, and literally no one will show up, even though there are plenty of students in the class who need help and could benefit from that one-on-one interaction. College is a place where you start taking more control over your own learning. That brings me to my second point. In college, you have a lot of choices to make. At some schools, you might have 50 or 75 majors to choose from and hundreds of options for elective courses. Plus, there's college sports and intramural clubs and all kinds of school activities. This is a level of choice that high school students have never confronted. Do you remember that archaeology class that you took in high school? No, you don't, because you don't take archaeology in high school, just like you don't take a class in Chinese poetry or a class in astrobiology. This level of choice is often paralyzing for students. Astrobiology sounds kind of cool, but then you also read a Chinese poem that one time and thought it was quite profound. And your close friend is in the archaeology department and she's been telling you that shovels are where it's at. One of the common reactions when we have too many choices is to delay our decision making. So as a student, I might think something like, so in the first 2 years, I'm gonna take a lot of different classes and see what feels right. Then I'm gonna have the information to make a good decision. So I'll wait till the last minute to declare a major. Here's the problem with that way of thinking. You end up dabbling in a lot of different areas, and at the end of 2 years, it's really hard to say what skills or knowledge that you've gained. I took a course over there, and I took a course over here, and I took a course in that subject, and that was cool. This is not really where you want to be at. In most cases, I think you can learn more by focusing on one area earlier on. The introductory courses to any discipline are similar in a way. They focus more on the basics. Sometimes it's a broad survey of the discipline as a whole. But when you take more advanced classes, you have to deal with more nuance, with more complications, with higher level thinking, with more rigorous assignments. And many of the lessons that you learn from trying to go deep in one area can be applied to other areas too if you decide to change your mind. But there's another element to increased choice. We're not just talking about academic choices, we're talking about life choices. What are you doing outside of school? Working, partying, gaming, sports? Are you in a relationship? Are you seeking a relationship? Because you have a lot of autonomy and a lot of potential distractions, planning and time management become much more important in college than they were in high school. And the best advice that I've heard about managing your time in college is to act as though being a student is your 9-to-5 job, presuming you don't already have a 9-to-5 job. Studying, reading, and preparing for assignments, all of that should start on day one. It's a lot easier to begin building good habits at the beginning of the semester rather than after 3, 4, 10 weeks of doing something else. The nice part is that you are essentially the boss. You don't have to go to meetings that you think are a waste of time or do some tedious work that you think is not relevant. What are the activities that are going to drive your learning forward? What are the activities that are really going to energize you? Having a regular schedule where you go to bed at roughly the same time most days and you get up at roughly the same time most days, and spending your waking time purposefully, whether that is studying or working on projects or socializing with friends or taking other kinds of breaks, is going to be helpful. Many students in college have not had the experience of making financial decisions, yet here they are making fundamentally financial decisions. Where to go to school, what, if any, scholarships to apply for, which loans to take out, what to major in, where to live, what to eat, whether to work during school, and where to work. These are all financial decisions, in many cases involving long-term debts and long-term financial rewards. In most cases, financial education is not an official part of the college curriculum, but you should be educating yourself financially as part of your college experience. An easy way to get a handle on this is to step through what you think will happen after graduation based on the financial information that you have right now. Did you take out a loan? Understand the terms of that loan. When will payments for that loan begin? How much will it cost you per month? Will those costs increase, decrease, stay the same? Are you considering a certain career after graduating? Well, look at where jobs in that career are available and how much you would get paid, especially as an entry-level employee. Planning on moving to a particular location after school? Well, look at the cost of rent in that area. Where would it be possible to live? And don't forget about things like health insurance, taxes, emergency funds, car payments, car insurance, and any costs with commuting to work. I'm sure I'm still missing some categories of things, but if you just go through this exercise, I think you're going to have a much better sense of what you can afford and how to manage your money. At the end of high school, students have some pretty straightforward goals: to graduate, and if possible, to get some good grades so that they can do some more training, whether that's at college or through an apprenticeship or at a trade school. But in college, getting good grades isn't enough. In fact, grades probably don't matter as much as you think. Even graduating isn't enough. If you get to the end of college and all you've done is graduate with a decent GPA, but you have no idea what you're going to do next, you have no plan for the future, and you don't understand really what skills or knowledge or networks that you've created through the college experience, then you haven't succeeded at college. All you've done is spend time there. The question you should think about here is, what are you ultimately going to get out of the college experience? What are you walking away with? Let me suggest 3 categories of things that you should think about. First, skills. You should think about skills like being a really good writer, being able to parse technical documents, being able to apply mathematical models to real-life situations, being able to design and build something to solve a problem or address a need. Your major doesn't necessarily define the skills that you are learning. You might major in biology, but focus on really improving your writing skills, and maybe you would ultimately go into science communication or something. Or you might major in biology and focus on applying mathematical models to natural phenomena. The second category is subject matter expertise. Maybe you majored in computer science and leaned into learning algorithms. Or maybe you read a ton about 17th century Italian art. It's nice to have some subject matter that you know more about than the average person. You're not necessarily going to use that subject matter expertise in your job. It's more about having a core set of ideas and practices that you can draw from as you learn other things. Finally, you want to be walking away with a network of people who know you and who care about you, at least a little bit. Job opportunities and insight about the job market more generally are usually going to come through your relationships with peers and slightly older students and faculty members and mentors that you may have met outside of classes, like in clubs or social events or hobbies. If you address these 5 areas as you transition to college, I think you're going to be doing all right. That's it for this one. Good luck. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.